Let us begin not with complaint, nor with concern, but with deep and thunderous thanks. For today, we celebrate a miracle in motion. 1,000 souls united in vision, in purpose, and in power. This is not a number. It is a vibration. A signal to the universe that we are awake, aware, and alive with purpose. Let me tell you something sacred. Gratitude is not an emotion. It is a force. When wielded with intention, it cracks open the heavens and commands the law of increase to move. What you praise, you raise. What you bless, blossoms. When you say, thank you, not with your lips, but with your life, the universe leans in closer. Many think gratitude is reserved for after the blessing. But I say unto you, the true magician gives thanks before the miracle arrives, for they know it is already done. That is not delusion. That is divine foresight. To thank in advance is to make a claim. And what you claim in faith, you shall soon hold in your hands. We did not reach this milestone by striving alone. No. We are co-creators with something higher, something infinite. Gratitude connects us to our source, the well that never runs dry. When we give thanks, sincerely and audaciously, we enter the river of divine supply. And in that current, all things are possible. Now hear this, and let it echo in your spirit. Gratitude dissolves fear. Gratitude breaks resistance. Gratitude turns the key in every locked door. To the mind that is fixed on lack, the world looks barren. But to the heart that gives thanks, the world is bursting with secret abundance, waiting only for the eyes of faith to see it. So let this be more than a speech. Let it be a declaration. A recalibration of how we see. A revolution of how we receive. Because what we honor, honors us. And what we thank, returns multiplied. We are just beginning. 1,000 is not a peak. It is a platform. And with hearts wide open and thanks on our tongues, we step boldly into more. To those who have joined me on this journey, thank you. To those who are yet to come, welcome. And to the Spirit that guides it all, we bow in thanks. For the power of gratitude has lifted us, and will carry us higher still. And so it is. Gratitude is more than a gentle feeling. It is a mighty transformer of the mind. It shifts the lens through which we view the world, and in doing so, it shifts the world itself. When a person moves from complaint to thanksgiving, from bitterness to blessing, they do not simply feel better, they begin to see better. And what you see, you create. What you behold, you invite. What you focus on, expands. Most people wait for life to give them something to be grateful for. They believe that happiness is conditional, that peace must be earned, that joy is something rare and fleeting. But gratitude says, I do not wait, I declare now that life is already full. That blessings already surround me. That what is good has not vanished, but has simply been waiting for me to notice it. And in that moment of recognition, something extraordinary happens. Consciousness rises. Gratitude is the gatekeeper to higher states of being. When we give thanks, not as an obligation, but as a revelation, we lift ourselves out of the mud of limitation and rise into the air of possibility. The one who complains sees only obstacles. The one who gives thanks sees the same landscape, but it is dotted with opportunity. This is not imagination. It is recreation. Because what you focus on becomes the seed of what will soon bloom in your life. You may say, how can I give thanks when everything around me feels broken? But gratitude does not require perfection. It creates perfection out of fragments. It takes the little you have and multiplies it. The moment you say, I bless this small beginning, you are planting the seeds of greatness. And the universe, hearing your declaration of abundance, responds in kind. For you are never rewarded for your neediness. You are rewarded for your faith. The world you experience is a mirror of your inner vibration. Gratitude shifts that frequency. It tunes your soul like a great instrument, moving you from the heavy chords of fear into the harmonious melody of love and trust. And as your vibration changes, the mirror shifts. People respond differently. Doors open. Light appears where there was once only shadow. When you are grateful, not just in word but in spirit, you change your identity. You are no longer the victim, the struggler, the one waiting for rescue. You become the creator, the chooser, the blessed one who walks in power. Gratitude is not passive. It is active, electric, alive. It takes the raw materials of your life and speaks over them a new name, enough. And from that declaration, more is born. So never underestimate what happens when you choose to say thank you. Not just for what has come, but for what is coming. For what is unseen. For what has not yet arrived, but is already yours by divine right. Gratitude doesn't wait for reality to shift. It shifts reality itself. Gratitude, when understood at its highest level, is not merely a response to what has happened. It is a bold, unshakable declaration of what is yet to be. It is the voice of faith speaking ahead of time. When you give thanks before the answer comes, before the door opens, before the healing manifests, you are not pretending, you are prophesying. You are aligning yourself with divine truth, not human evidence. That, my friends, is not wishful thinking. That is spiritual certainty. That is the language of active faith. Most people give thanks after something occurs. They wait for the physical, for the visible, for the proof. But gratitude as active faith gives thanks while the soil is still bare, trusting the seed has already taken root. It says, I don't need to see it to believe it. I believe it, and therefore I will see it. That is the kind of gratitude that moves mountains. That is the kind of gratitude that breaks the laws of limitation and bends reality toward your favor. When you say thank you in advance, you are staking a claim. You are marking territory in the unseen. You are telling the universe, this belongs to me by divine right. And when you do so without doubt, without fear, with total expectancy, you activate spiritual law. The universe cannot ignore a soul who thanks boldly, confidently, before the first sign of success appears. That soul is already in possession of their good. They are walking in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. There is a deep power in giving thanks for what your senses cannot yet confirm. Why? Because it proves you are no longer ruled by appearances. You are ruled by truth. And truth is eternal. Truth says, it is done. And when you echo that truth with gratitude, the physical world must catch up. It must yield to your conviction. Your faith pulls the unseen into the seen, and gratitude is its proof. You cannot be fearful and thankful at the same time. You cannot doubt and give thanks in the same breath. One must leave when the other enters. Gratitude pushes fear out the door. It silences anxiety and opens your inner eyes to see possibility where others see only problems. It is not passive. It is not weak. It is the most active stance you can take in the waiting season. So bless the vision before it comes to pass. Say thank you for the promotion, for the provision, for the answered prayer, even while the world says there's no sign of it. Because heaven responds not to desperation, but to expectation. Gratitude is the sound of that expectation. It is the sound of a soul that knows, not hopes, not guesses, not pleads, but knows that what is theirs cannot miss them. To live in gratitude before the harvest is to live as if the harvest is already here. And the universe, hearing that level of faith, cannot help but respond in kind. Gratitude is not a passive feeling, it is a force. A spiritual solvent that dissolves the invisible walls we unknowingly build between ourselves and our good. When you are locked out of progress, stuck in stagnation, or pushing against what feels like an immovable obstacle, gratitude is the key that turns in the lock. Where resistance dwells, whether in your mind, your relationships, your finances, or your opportunities, gratitude breaks through like sunlight cracking through a storm. Most people try to push through life with effort, with worry, with control. They clench their fists and grit their teeth, trying to force results. But the universe does not respond to struggle. It responds to alignment. And gratitude is the most powerful way to bring yourself back into alignment with the flow of divine supply. When you give thanks, you say, I trust, I release, I welcome. And in that vibration, resistance melts. Every complaint is a wall. Every doubt is a closed door. But gratitude swings those doors wide open. When you stop cursing the delay and start blessing the moment, something shifts. You go from fighting life to flowing with it. You open the channel. You lift the latch. And suddenly, the very thing that felt stuck begins to move, because you have moved. Gratitude is more than appreciation. It is a weapon of spiritual warfare. It dismantles fear and confusion. It disarms the voice of not enough. It strips the power from disappointment and replaces it with anticipation. Where there was once tension, there is now ease. And where there was once a closed gate, there is now a path. Why does gratitude open doors? Because it proves you are no longer bound by the illusion of lack. You are declaring that good is already present, even if unseen. And when you truly believe your good is here, life must respond. For the universe does not deny the grateful heart, it honors it. What you bless, blesses you back. What you thank, gives more reason to thank. It is spiritual law. When you bless your current situation, yes, even the parts that feel heavy, you neutralize the power it has to keep you stuck. You stop wrestling and start receiving. You stop resisting and start rising. Resistance says, I hate this. Gratitude says, I bless this. And the moment you bless it, you unlock its purpose and clear the way for something greater. This is why gratitude must become a daily practice, not only when things go right, but especially when they seem wrong. Because the moment you choose gratitude in the midst of difficulty, you activate the unseen support of the universe. You open a door in the spirit that no man can shut. Opportunities, people, resources, and answers begin to arrive. Not because you chase them, but because you welcome them with open hands and an open heart. Gratitude is not reaction. It is creation. It doesn't wait for change. It creates the atmosphere for change. And when that atmosphere is present, resistance has no place to live. Only possibility remains. Gratitude is more than a gesture of politeness. It is a spiritual alignment. When you give thanks, truly and deeply, you connect yourself to the infinite reservoir of divine supply. You are no longer a beggar hoping to receive. You become a co-creator, consciously plugged into the source of all abundance, all wisdom, all power. Gratitude is the cord that ties your individual soul to the great universal spirit, and once that connection is felt, you are never again truly in need. You may experience a temporary lack, but lack can no longer define you, because you know the source from which all things flow. When you walk in gratitude, you no longer worship appearances. You are no longer shaken by what the world calls reality. For you know a greater truth, that behind every seen condition is an unseen power, and that power responds not to fear, not to panic, but to praise. When you say, thank you are saying, I trust the source even when I cannot see the supply. And in that trust, you call forth the very substance of your desire. This is no vague theory. It is spiritual law. You cannot be connected to divine supply and still live as though you are separate from good. Gratitude corrects the illusion of separation. It reminds you who you are and whose you are. You are not out here trying to survive by your own strength. You are not building your life with tools of scarcity. You are drawing from the eternal storehouse that never runs dry. And gratitude is how you turn on the tap. You may think the answer to your need is more money, more time, more help, but the answer is always deeper alignment. And gratitude brings that alignment faster than any effort can. When you say, thank you for what I have, you open the channel wider. When you say, thank you for what's on the way, you speed up its arrival. When you say, thank you for what I do not yet understand, you activate divine guidance. You move from confusion to clarity, from resistance to receptivity, from striving to flowing. There is no lack in divine supply. There is no delay in divine timing. What delays us is our own inner resistance, our fear, our doubt, our forgetfulness of who we are. But gratitude is the great rememberer. It lifts the veil and reconnects us with truth. You are not here to scrape by. You are not here to hustle for crumbs. You are here to express the fullness of life, and life will give back to you in proportion to what you acknowledge. The more you recognize the flow, the more it flows. The more you honor the source, the more supply rushes in. Gratitude is not just the evidence of faith, it is the activator of miracles. When you say, "Thank you," you are saying to the universe, "I am ready to receive." And the universe, hearing that readiness, responds in abundance, not in trickles, but in waves.